This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello, welcome to this last edition of the post-match review of Red Side of the Trent. Unfortunately, not a full house, but I am delighted to be joined by Christian Brown. Christian, how are you? I know we've just spoken about the deflation of yesterday, but how are you overall in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, all right. It is just, I think deflation is the right word, really. It's a bit disappointing, but it's just such mixed feelings. I think, I suppose if you put all our results into one big tumbler and mash them all together, and it worked out so that we say won the last 4 games to take 7th on the final day of the season, we will be delighted right now. We'd be so happy. We'd be like, this is an incredible achievement and whatever else. I just think because of how we've imploded over the last 8 games or so, it sort of takes away what we have actually achieved. I mean, Forest really are what, 16th, I think 16th wage bill in the league, something like that. Obviously, we're 17th last season. Obviously, in terms of the spend of the squad, it's like the second cheapest assembled in the league. So we should be heralding these things, but I just can't shake the sort of like disappointment that we were 6 points clear of City net with 8 games to go. They've ended up finishing like 5-7 points ahead of us or whatever it is. It's just really sort of like, it's a real shame that we sort of crashed at the final hurdle, I guess.
Yeah, a bit of pill to swallow, and especially with how the game went yesterday and how results went our way. You couldn't have asked for a better last day where we're at home against the Chelsea side who have not won away from home since December, hadn't won outside of London either in that case. The fact that Everton went and beat Newcastle away and Aston Villa went and lost at Old Trafford with Emi Martinez getting sent off in potentially his last game of his Aston Villa career. And we kind of, it was a damp squid from our lot. Like, it was such a bad game in general, I thought, in terms of quality. I thought both teams were poor. Chelsea saw it out brilliantly. I give them credit for that. But neither team really troubled the other in my eyes. Like from watching it at home, unfortunately, I couldn't go due to, one, I couldn't get a ticket and other personal reasons. But watching it from home, I was just like, this is such a bad game of football. Like did it seem like that in the ground as well?
Yeah, big time. I mean, you're right about the results thing as well. I mean, obviously, I had to walk past Reece where I sat. Well, from next season, that's changing. So I'm moving down a load of rows in Upper Bridgeford. But I can just literally 2 steps up to the right rather than trekking to the top of Forest Everest. But I actually be able to see the stream from there as well, which is quite nice. But yeah, no, I walked past Reece on the way out and he said, I think if Newcastle and Villa had won, we wouldn't have cared so much. It would have been like, oh, okay, fair enough. Nothing we would have done would have made any difference because it was out of our hands anyway. But the fact that they both lost, it was just sort of like, oh God, you just sort of get that longing sense of what could have been and whatever else. But yeah, it was just an awful game. I mean, it felt like a final in some ways. Where no one wants to really overcommit because there's a lot on the line, sort of thing, and they know what's at stake, so they play a bit more cautiously within themselves. It felt like it'd be a 1-goal game within the first 5 minutes of the match, really. And yeah, obviously from Chelsea's perspective, they knew a draw would do it anyway, especially with the other results, which they were being very aware of. So yeah, it's all sort of, like you said, it's sort of a case of when something gets hyped up too much, it just doesn't deliver the billing, sort of thing. It was a bit like that.
I feel like our last 4 home games have all been like that, where we've almost just been too nervous about the occasion each time. I feel like there were 4 games that you could arguably we should beat each of those teams in Brentford, Everton, Leicester, and Chelsea, and we've completely and utterly just not turned up. I mean, you've mentioned about bottling it. To really, when you think about it, and how good our home form has been over the last 2 seasons, I know I sound really like deflated and really negative, but our home form has been our strong point for the last several seasons, including in the Championship, and we've completely thrown it away against sides where I feel like we've been so much stronger than all season. And I put Chelsea in that, and they've spent £1 billion, and they didn't look like £1 billion team whatsoever yesterday. It's just very, very frustrating. It's so annoying because, like you say, it does take off the edge that we have got European football coming next season. I know it's the Conference League, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's Tim Part," but it's still a European competition at the end of the day. We can't scoff at that opportunity, and it's a good opportunity because Reece has been brilliantly like posting like who we could get in the rounds, posting who we can get in the draw if we do make it into the league stage. And I really fancy us to go and either get very far or win it. In my eyes, if West Ham can win it and Olympiacos, no offense to them 2 teams, but we're better than them.
No, I think if we can, the issue for me is that the playoff. I mean, it feels like, it honestly feels like promotion again to the Premier League for the first time in a sense. Well, won't take disappointment the way it does, because obviously when you get promoted, your first aim obviously is like beat Derby's total of 11 points. Winning the playoff now feels like doing that, and then obviously you got survive on what's next. But some of the teams we could get in those playoffs, as Reece pointed out. I mean, it's what I'm just looking at it now. So we could get teams I've never even heard of, like Baník Ostrava from the Czech Republic. What's one of them? Like they're going to beat us 1-0 over 2 legs. You can see it coming a mile off. It's going to be the worst thing in the world. Borac Banja Luka from Bosnia. Oh god. I mean, I suppose the flip side is if we can't beat any of these teams over a 2-legged tie, we don't deserve to be in the competition anyway. But I think just because Forest, even though we shook it off with Cooper and obviously finally did go over the line through the playoffs, because we've been stung so many times before, the concept of a playoff format, even if we are the stronger team per se, still doesn't exactly fill me with lots of confidence. I think if we get through the playoff stage, and then I start to get excited about Conference League and whatever else, I think, because then it's sort of like, right, okay, we're in it now. We're in it to win it. Who can we get? What away days can we sort of plan? Are we going to Fiorentina? Are we going to, I don't know, Rusta Rekba's home in Turkey? What's it going to be? So
we're going to some sort of destination where Taken would take place.
Liam Neeson greets us at the airport. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it will be exciting once August the 4th comes round and we do get that playoff, and then we kind of, like you say, the PTSD of playoffs do sink in. But I would fancy us over 2 legs against any of those teams that have been listed by the conference kind of prediction thing or whatever you want to call it. But we'll get into this Chelsea game because we have got to talk about it. So we started the same team as West Ham, which was Matt Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, who got through the week after not training. Nico Williams at left back, Sangare, Anderson, Dominguez, Morgan Gibbs-White with Elanga and Wood up top in like kind of a diamond formation. Was you hoping for something different, or was it a fair team to kind of go with the same that beat West Ham last week?
I think it was probably a case of it being fair. I think really the only 2 teams Nuno could have picked would either be the same team at West Ham, or he took out one of the midfielders, probably Sangare, I'd say, for Hudson-Odoi. You go back to your normal shape and whatever else. But no issue to the team when it came out. I thought it was more than fine. And it was just, it's just so frustrating because Chelsea didn't have to be good. I think that's the thing. Chelsea didn't have to be good to get through it. It was it was pretty even first half, really. We both missed identical opportunities. Obviously, Neto and Woods, pretty much the same chance, carbon copy of each other. Other than that, it was just mostly a midfield battle, wasn't it, really? And we looked okay-ish. Obviously, Sangare stood out head and shoulders over everyone else on the pitch for me. But, yeah.
I mean, I at the time I thought Wood should have probably scored his chance, but then I saw it again. It come off his shin. But like he was disappointing yesterday for me. Wood. I thought he was so poor. His touch was
the
poor.
one at the end, I don't know how he's done that. Like if he shot tamely into Sanchez's arms, that would have been better than blazing it over the bar. I think from that situation. Yeah. I don't know how he's done that.
He's on the stretch after taking such a good touch as well. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. It's like he doesn't adjust his feet or anything. But I found like before we talk about the goal, I just want to talk about Sangare because I thought it was bizarre that we took him off. He was the only one passing the ball forward with some conviction and passing it into players where they could either turn out or there was already in space, if you know what I mean, because he was playing it in front of them. And I just thought we lost so much impetus with him going off. His ability with long range passing as well. Once we brought Hudson-Odoi and Alanga and they both went out into their normal positions, we lose that ability to play the ball over the top over fullbacks and stuff because no one else can do it like he can in my eyes. Like I just found that very strange.
Yeah, I'd agree. Again, he was the best player in the Forest shirt yesterday. I thought it was really good that Henry Winter picked up on it as well. And said how good he tweeted out how good he thought Sangare was and whatever else. And it's sort of like it makes you think that it really like this player's always been there. We just, for whatever reason, not really been able to see it for this, that, and the other. I think the last 4 or 5 games this season, he's come on and just constantly impressed. I can't think of a point this season where he's had a bad sort of opportunity. Even at, I think. Was it Fulham? I think he came on 20 minutes to go. Newcastle especially came on 20 minutes ago, but again was very good when he came on with Yates that day. And he's just constantly sort of shown that there is this player there. There's this player that we've signed, spent that £30 million on whatever it was on for him, and you can see it. Like some of the things he was doing yesterday were a joke, mate. Like you said, there was one. He was just turning players left, right, and centre. He was strong in a tackle. No, he wasn't being rambast that easily, I thought, even against quick people like Neto, for example, when he drifted out to that flank. Obviously a lot of people mentioned his agility and whatever else, but he looked fine yesterday. And
he looks a lot fitter, didn't he?
Definitely, yeah. And even his passing, like you said, there was one pass where he clipped. It would go down as an unsuccessful pass for him, where he just literally just pinged it first time out of into the right channel. Sent Ines scurrying down after it, and the Chelsea player got there first and just had no choice to put it out for a throw. That one pass got us 30 yards up the pitch, so it'll go down as a successful pass for him, but equally got the team moving in a much better position. He was really, really good yesterday. It's just I'm not going to go into it. We know why there's an element of supporters that don't like him or refuse to rate him, and also I think for some as well, they're too long in the tooth. Certain other podcasts saying that they don't want to see him playing a single minute for Forest ever again, for example. And that's not even from one of the more inflammatory podcasts either. One of the more measured ones, supposedly. They're now, it feels a bit like when Richard said last season that, Burnley will finish top half because Company was his best mate. Obviously went down embarrassingly, like 19th. It just feels like they're just too embarrassed to sort of backtrack on it. They won't give him the credit he's due. They'll sort of see a performance like that and think that as good as he is, and he's been head and shoulders the best player in a losing side as well over the last few games, they'll see it and just think, oh, well, that's what a £30 million player should be doing, rather than actually accept they were wrong to begin with and realise there is actually a serious player in there, and one that I wouldn't be surprised if we built a team around either. If Gibbs White is sold, as expected, unfortunately, that's probably his last game in a Forest shirt, and what a terrible way for him to go out as well if it was, because obviously he deserves so much more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to a 4-3-3, to be honest, and just didn't play over 10. Just had 2 midfielders off Sangare, like Anderson and Dominguez, for example, have your 2 wingers out wide all the time and just let him pick them out. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that was the game plan moving forwards. He is that good of a player.
That's definitely a conversation for the summer and the recruitment, because if we get a striker that's a little bit more mobile than Chris Wood and can drop in and be almost like a hybrid, like it's similar to how Harry Kane has been through the years, and there's other players that can do that role. I think that's why Johan Visser was so sought out, because he can drop in deep and has the agility and the pace to get in behind as well, because he offers that kind of flexibility. So it is an interesting take, actually. I tend to agree with that in terms of moving to a more 4-3-3 and away from a number 10 kind of formation like the 4-3-2-1, which we've played so often this season. So no, it's definitely an interesting one. I think Sangare gets a lot of flack because of his price as well, which is not his fault.
Club chose to pay that money. If anything, we should be backing the club for doing so.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. We'll talk. We have to talk about the goal. Unfortunately, I mean, how ironic is it that Levi Colwell, whose own goal for Huddersfield got us promoted, and it's his goal that rips away Champions League hopes on the last day of the season. I mean, I bet your Huddersfield fans were elated because of that for some strange reason. I mean, they keep saying that we cheated in that game when the referees make the decisions, not Forest. So, yeah, strange one. But it's a poor goal. It's another poor goal we've conceded at home in these last 4 games. We've just turned into mush defending wise. I don't know what the heck has happened at home in these last 4 games, but it's again poor. I mean, I don't know what Williams is doing with the header, and then it's just so easy. It's strange goal.
It was a strange goal. I'll confess I've not seen it back, but it just seemed a very easy routine, corner routine from Chelsea. Like you could tell they were going to go short to Palmer. No one was out there, and it's a horrible header from Williams. I mean, it's a shame because I actually thought he played really well. Other than that, again, one of the few highlights from the game, you'd probably say Williams would be one of them. Getting stuck in, he was everything. He gave everything to the cause yesterday and had the quality to back it up too, which is more than we said than the other fullback on the day yesterday. And he just a missed time, isn't it? And obviously at that point, it's like, well, as soon as that ball goes backwards, it's like that's a goal. It reminded me of when Spence did it against Sheffield United, but on that hand, Samba bailed us out when he sort of nodded it backwards into Ndiaye's path from like a yard out, and Samba somehow jammed his hand out and stopped it going in. But this time, when the ball's rolled over like that, Selza's got no chance anyway. As soon as Neto makes that pass, it's a goal. Like even if Højlund's on the end of that, it's a goal. So I think what was more annoying was that it just came so quickly after half time. Like you just put in a fairly even half. You've matched them. The game's still there. It's 0-0 elsewhere as well. Newcastle aren't winning. Villa aren't winning. It's still there for us. If we can get an early goal and put pressure on them, who knows what might happen? We don't even do that. We just fold. Just cheaply. That's Forest of old. That to concede a goal of that nature within first 5 minutes of the second half. That's that's Forest. That's the Forest I grew up with, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, as well, like you'd have obviously received the news that Villa were down to 10 men, and then I think shortly after we conceded, Villa conceded, and then Newcastle conceded in a game where you actually thought, well, are Everton going to be on the beach? They've got the 2 centre halves out, and they've gone and got a result. And then after the goal, Christian, I mean, I think we both agree with this. We did not trouble Robert Sanchez one bit, apart from that Wood chance where he should hit the target at least. But like our build-up play, our urgency to get things moving, get things going, the press, it was all so lackadaisical. And Chelsea, to be fair to them, saw it out brilliantly. They did what we've done to so many teams this season when we've gone in front, and that's killed the game. They just killed the game completely. There was a point where Robert Sanchez had the ball in his hands for 20 seconds before he kicked it out. And I don't know how I don't understand how referees don't penalise this anymore. It used to be this whole thing of, you're going to get 6 seconds, and then we're going to give an indirect free kick in the penalty box for it. 20 seconds. It was. I counted it. Reece, who I was watching the game with, counted it. It's absolutely ridiculous how well they saw the game out and how it wasn't punished in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I think we found the only team in the Premier League that Anthony Taylor dislikes more than Chelsea, and unfortunately that's us. He was shocking yesterday. I mean, there was one instance, I can't remember who it was that got the yellow. It was a tackle from behind. I know Caicedo did it. And just got away. Yeah, and he got away with it. Forest player does it. I think it was Anderson actually. Yellow card just comes straight out. It's like, how can you have that for one but not the other? And a stronger ref clamps down the time wasting as well. And literally, as soon as it hit 98, even though the ball was in Sanchez's hands for probably got a good minute and a half, that 98 didn't add that on. Just literally blew in the full time whistle, wanting to get out of her. Again. I'll say it again. If we're saying Anthony Taylor is one of the best 1% of UK referees, then we've got the worst in the world. I'm sorry, because he's atrocious, absolutely atrocious. It's like he was making amends for Chelsea over the course of the game because it was just so bad. But it sort of goes back to the sub, doesn't it? Because I mean, I think Sangare coming off at the time, I was like, okay, he's going to his very familiar shape, 4-2-3-1 with the most commonly used 11 of this season. But Sangare was playing well, and it sort of made no sense really to take him off at that point because, like you said, we lost that passing range, and we were so slow. Urgency was the right word. There was no urgency. Even when Sells had it, it was just very slow to release it and whatever else. And like, it says a lot that of all the things that we did in the game, that Wood chance came from a Sells long ball. There was no creativity at all in the middle of the wings. Hudson-Odoi was basically a passenger.
Yeah,
and it's just so because but equally, that's not me digging Hudson-Odoi out. I don't recall a single opportunity where he was put one-on-one with a fullback. The only time he was from a corner when they played it short to Anderson. I was quite surprised he didn't do his normal party trick of cut inside and shoot. He actually tried to take him on and then pull the ball across. It didn't end up working. That was the only time in the time he was on the pitch where he was actually one-on-one with a winger, which is what you want Hudson-Odoi doing. Because there was no balls into him and let him do that. There was no balls in behind so he could chase. There was nothing. It was all in front of Chelsea. It was all so easy for them. They didn't have to be good. Like I said, they didn't have to raise their level. They didn't have to show they had a billion and a half pound squads. It's, that was a frustrating element because we lost a game of football in which really we've just buckled.
Well, the other frustrating thing was one we needed to chuck the kitchen sink. We weren't even doing that. Like Murillo's passing was awful yesterday, especially long ball. I don't know what he just kept trying to clip these balls down the line. I'm like, no, you need to play these diags to the back post where Milenkovic or Wood might, or even Yates might get on the end of and head it back across. And we wasn't even doing that.
Yeah.
We needed to revert back to like League One Championship type football. We couldn't, and I don't know why we didn't. It was very, very, very peculiar, very, very frustrating, and like we said at the top of the show, it really just takes off that shine that we have got European football again, which I think we will get excited for come August 4th when we get that draw. We'll probably be doing something on here in terms of reacting to it because it will be exciting. It'll be exciting to play some sort of team from bleeding Bratislava or wherever. And hopefully pummel them and give us some confidence in the season. I know that I'm saying that with a pinch of salt because it is Forest and we know what we're like in kind of these playoff games sort of thing. But we should do really. Let's be quite frank. We should do well in that competition. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating because of the circumstances, because of Villa and Newcastle losing, as we said. A point would have been enough to get us into the Europa League, which is also frustrating. And it just it just feels like, I mean, I've labelled this pod as a massive opportunity missed, and it is because we're not sure if we will get this chance to get in the Champions League, as we've reiterated on past pods. Are Spurs going to be so bad? Man U could be definitely bad, but like, look at the top five who ended up getting in there when there could have been a big party spoil. We've ended up with Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Chelsea, who are some of the biggest sides in this league. So it's ended up being a bit of a boring kind of top five again. It's just same old when us and Villa could have got in there and spoilt the party even a bit more, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But I mean, ultimately, the table doesn't lie after 38 games of a season. If you called it after 30, when I think that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? When you look for 9/10 this season, if you look like you're going to be in these spots and you just crumble, it's sort of like, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, in terms of competitive standpoint, obviously, I think the Conference League will be better for Forest. Obviously, we will be more competitive, assuming we get past the playoff. We will be more competitive in that than we would be in, say, the Champions League, but that obviously comes at a different cost because the financials for getting the Champions League are going to be so much higher than this. And also, the level of player you're able to attract for being in the Champions League will be so much higher. I mean, in theory, and also I think, we've seen this season with Celtic and Brest and whatever else getting through to the knockouts, the last phase. So I think best case scenario for Forest would be probably around 16 in the Champions League. Probably would have gone out around a 32. No shame in that. But that would have banked about 50 million, 60 million pounds for the club. And with that money on top of what they're already planning to spend this summer, which Telegraph saying 150 million before any player sales, you're looking at Forest competing for 7th consistently for the next 5-6 years if you get the recruitment right. You set us up for the future with that. That's obviously now not going to happen. The caveat to that is that if we do win the Conference League, not only is it a trophy, it'll get us in Europe again the next season in Europa League. So, I think it's sort of like, is your glass half full or half empty? I'm not entirely sure where mine currently lies at the minute. I think if you'd asked me after the Leicester game, I said completely empty. But now it's sort of like, okay, it is what it is, isn't it? So there's a chance of winning it. We're here now. Obviously, we want to win trophies. That's what we want. And obviously, winning a major trophy for us would be mega. It's not happened in 30-odd years. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, it's just a real shame that we couldn't have got into mix up with Europa League. Because, I mean, there's the whole participation element, of course. But, we wanted to be in the Premier League because it's the best league in the world, didn't we? We didn't want to be in the Championship anymore. We wanted to be promoted. We wanted to see Forest mix it up the league. Champions League exactly the same. You want those nights against Barcelona. You want a sort of, you want those days where you have a crack at someone. Even look at Villa this season. Okay, they got to the quarterfinals in Champions League. They had a hell of a run. Beat Bayern Munich at home. Juventus. Imagine having some of those nights to sort of think back and look back on, as well as having the money that comes from that too. Yeah. It just feels a real shame we've sort of missed out on that, because for 9/10 this season, our performances really deserved having those opportunities. But it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, we'll just have to. Yeah.
I think with in terms of player recruitment, because I look at it the last couple of seasons, and we've still managed to attract good players. I feel we just have to slightly adjust the shopping window now, because obviously you'd like to go for, I don't know, say if we're in the Champions League and you can go for, I don't know, a Vlahovic from Juventus. Now we might have to shop down and we're going for Visser, who we wanted in January anyway. And I think like the pool is still there, that we've got European football. We're a club that's building. I think even for young players, you still look at us and go, well, they're giving opportunity to young players and they're improving. You look at Alanga, you look at Hudson-Odoi, who's kind of revived his confidence and his career. Murillo, who's come from the Brazilian league, is someone. We got Milenkovic, who'd got into back-to-back Conference League finals. Hopefully, it's third time lucky for himself in this competition. So, there is positives to be drawn from there, and there are things to get excited about, because we're going to have to shop in a different window anyway, because we're a team that's got to try and get players who are slightly in a different kind of skill set, I'd say, because I think we would still struggle to compete with other Champions League sides to get certain players anyway, because they're more guaranteed to get there again. So it's going to be a very, very fun summer. Yet again, there's going to be a lot of turnover, I'd imagine, because we do need to strengthen. I think with the Conference League, it allows that rotation though, because if we are playing someone who we think are far less, like we're far superior than, then maybe we can kind of, I don't know, rotate a little bit. You still hopefully win that game, even if it's 1-0. But then when you go and play someone like, I don't know, Tottenham on the Sunday or the Monday at home, you're not suffering because you just go back to full strength Premier League sort of quality. And if Ange's in charge still, Christian, you'll be rubbing your hands because we'll still beat them.
Absolutely, mate. I suppose as well, another thing to look at is that it's weird, because if you look at our recruitment from the summer now, you probably give it what initially looked like an A, you probably now give maybe a C or even lower, just because of how Jota, Sousa, and Morato have sort of fared over the last few months, or not played in that aspect. Miguel, you can throw into that category as well, really. But the flip side to that is that if you could say, look, we came 17th last season with a points deduction, and we're still able to attract someone like Nikola Milenkovic to sign for Forest. So the positive side of me is sort of saying that if we could attract someone that good when we were that bad, what about now? Now we've got European position. Now we've got a competition that we can potentially feasibly try and win. And players like winning things, doesn't matter what it is, they like winning trophies. So yeah, maybe we can attract, maybe it isn't as bad as I'm thinking it could be. And yeah, you're right. Maybe we might miss out on someone like Liam Delap, for example, because he wants Champions League football. Fine. But hopefully we can still attract other players that sort of keep us in that sort of top half for a few more years to come, and we can maybe build towards becoming like a Newcastle Champions League sort of aspiration. Because obviously them and Villa are years ahead of us, and we're mixing up with them, I suppose. That's the positive we take from it.
Yeah. Do you know if you win the Conference League, do you get like a quarter star put on.
Maybe a bronze star. Maybe a bronze star. If once we've got a gold, maybe it's a bronze star. But
yeah. Because I'm surprised West Ham haven't added something like for winning it. So I mean, Tottenham can add like some sort of star, I guess now. But yeah, no, I just thought that'd be quite a funny thing to ask. But we'll get into everyone's slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
There are quite a few to read out here, and I probably will trip over several, but I do apologise if I don't read yours out. So, Binit Patel, feeling deflated this morning as it's a huge opportunity missed, as much as that sounds entitled. I'm sure that will fade and pride will kick in at some point during the summer, but it's a bit raw now. Mark Baker, another game that showed the limitations of Nuno's one and only game plan and an inability to change it, whilst highlighting a squad without the depth or experience to drag us over the line. A huge transfer window coming up as we need strengthening even before we lose key players. Todd Mills, first 3 quarters of the season was Champions League standard, final quarter was relegation standard. First part was remarkable and deserves immense praise. Final part was dreadful and deserves criticism. Huge opportunity missed. We will likely start next season with a weaker first 11 than we started this. NFFC Kez don't understand the negativity. Immensely proud of what we've achieved. We're in the same position as Villa were about 3 years ago. Difference is we've punched above our weight to get here. You read transfer costs of squads per million, and we rank as bottom of that in the last several years by the looks of it. So fair enough. Grant Fellows, worst case scenario happened. All the results we didn't think could happen happened. We didn't take advantage. The reality is we are lacking a bit of depth to the last, of course, for Champions League pushers currently, but we are in Europe, and that's brilliant from where we were. Keeping us in function. The high wire snaps, the spinning plates fell to the floor. All season, Forest gambled on doing more with less. It almost worked in the most Forest way possible. Can't help feeling a generational chance to build the club has been lost. UEFA Champions League to Europa League to Conference League, step by step. Terrible performance today. This is Ian, sorry. Terrible performance today. 1 point from the last 4 home games has done us. Kazakhstan, here we come. Premier Elliott, Sangare showed his quality today. It's been a great season. Hopefully Europa Conference is a blessing in disguise. Today's fact is one of the most popular celebrities in London in 1860 was an oyster who could whistle. Sarah Thompson, proud of these boys. Yes, we can all be disappointed, but let's all have some perspective. Give it a few days and we'll be excited to see what the summer brings. Thank you, Forest, for giving me so many super memories this season. Look forward to more. Yummy Bear, full Forest, was chatting to people at the Cricket Friday who said results will go our way and we will lose. Now we get to see Forest more than likely lose in a Conference League playoff game to a side we've never heard of. 8 points from our last 10 games. Last but no means least is Carl Booth. Would have snapped your hand off if at the start of the season for Europe of any kind, but this does feel bittersweet after being third for so long. Never looked like scoring today. Results went our way and we couldn't do the business. So disappointing. I will ask this one. Reese Coy, friend of the pod. So he put 20-goal striker, didn't lose to the champions, European football, joint Golden Glove winner, multiple man of the match, manager of the month for Nuno, FA Cup semi, players tied down to new deals. Now's the time to reflect on all of that and more. The game was the game. Disappointed today, yes, but overall proud. Thank you very much for everyone that got involved. Any comments on them, Christian? Anything you thought was stood out at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fair points in all those things. I think that it sort of typifies how even we sort of are now. No one really knows how to feel at the minute, I think, because I think that, both things can be true in that you can be very proud of how we've done and we've punched way above our weight. We've done something that could set the club up exponentially for the next few years. We've got European football that's sitting around for the first time in 30 years. First time in our lifetime, well, that we can remember anyway. You've got all these great, wonderful things, but equally you've also got the other side of the spectrum where it's sort of like we've missed out on something generational here, and that's going to sting. And when you see Newcastle's, who obviously came 5th in the end, when you see their Champions League fixtures come through, there's going to be an element of sort of resentment, but sort of like that should have been us. That should have been us. Like if we see them get like Real Madrid at home first game or something, we'll be like, that should be us playing them. It should be us. It should be us looking at Milenkovic having a crack at Mbappe or whatever else. It should be us, but it isn't, and it's our own fault. ultimately it's our own fault. We've only got ourselves to blame. There's no one else. You can look at all sorts of things. It's our own poor performance that's done this. Had we, I look back at the Leicester game because no matter what else happened this season, and obviously this gives them great pride and joy, knowing how weird they not are. But we had 20 minutes to hold on against a truly woeful Premier League team, who are basically a Championship team in all but everything else, and will probably stay there next season as well because obviously they look like hiring Russell Martin. That means they're going to see about 60-odd goals. That can't be good, and they're going to get. The Athletic reckon they're going to get a 12-point deduction next season for PSR breaches. So we couldn't hold on against them.
Yeah.
We were in complete control of that game. We changed the midfields. We made reckless substitutions in that game. The game management was appalling that match, and we blew it. There's no way apart from that. We completely blew it. So that's what it comes down to. Because had we won that game and just seen out those 20 minutes, if all the other results happened as they happened, so we lost to Chelsea still, we beat West Ham, we'd have been in Champions League right now. We'd be saying, who cares that they won? We'd be in that position. We'd have finished fifth.
Yeah, it's such a bitter pill to swallow. Like honestly, like I think we'll be talking about this for a little while. To be honest, I think we'll be gutted for a little bit longer than we realise. But I think there's some great points also, like what Reece has put in the Slept on It thoughts. There's some things to really be proud of. We've doubled our points, doubled our points from last season. I mean, we didn't have no crazy tweets until the last few weeks. I mean, we've got to talk about the Gary Neville thing as well in some capacity, I guess, because I find that hilarious that he's like disappointed that he's been banned from our stadium, and other people have chimed in like, oh, it's a disgrace that Forest are doing this, it should be a behind closed doors matter, blah blah blah. But equally, you can't accuse of an owner of being a mafia boss and what have you not, and completely disrespecting his ownership of a massive football club. He's got the right to ban whoever he likes. Fans get banned for far less things from by their own clubs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes no difference in my eyes.
Yeah, this is what other journalists, especially that absolute bald egg at Sky, Doogie Critchley, who honestly, where did they get him from? Seriously, how did they pluck him out of nowhere and sort of go, oh yeah, we'll get him on TV. He seems a good idea. Jesus Christ. Anyway, but people like him don't seem to understand it isn't what Gary Neville's saying in his commentary. It isn't his comments on the club in a professional capacity. If he turns around the Sky Sports News and says, "Oh, Forest are a joke this season. They've been terrible. They've bottled it. Whatever else." If he got banned for that, yeah, fine. You might have a leg to stand on, but it's not because of that at all, is it? Really, it's because he's gone. It's his comments on social media that's got him in this position, and he has every right. He can't. He hasn't got a leg to stand on. He hasn't apologized. He didn't even apologise for his comments last year. Sky had to apologise for him to save it going to court because Forest obviously openly said, "We'll take you right. That's it. That's defamation. You're going to court." And Sky had to plead and beg and grovel to make sure it didn't happen. And eventually the matter sort of seemingly got resolved. Then this season comes by again and, chimes in straight after final whistle. Then obviously that Forest statement comes out. And then had Neville had any sort of common sense about him, he would have gone, all right, fine. Even if I don't necessarily believe what's in this statement, which, to be fair, I don't think most of us did. Bear in mind that if it's about Taiwo's welfare, why has he got 3 paragraphs at the end of the thing rather than at the beginning? But different conversation. Had he gone fine, even if I don't necessarily believe in what's in this, I'll take it at face value. I'll hold my hands up. I hope Taiwo has a recovery soon, and we'll go from there. He didn't do that. He doubled down on it, chose to antagonise Marinakis further on his own podcast, and then wondered why he got bans. Like, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequence. If I walk up to Tyson Fury, call him all names under the sun, and he knocks me out, that's my fault. I wouldn't wake up and cry, oh, but I've got freedom of speech. It's like, no, you don't have freedom of consequence afterwards. That's what the club have got. So
was it the fact he said Mark Clattenburg should have resigned last season when he was
Yeah.
I mean that was a bit peculiar in some circumstances to have him part of some sort of role at Forest anyway. But then he said Nuno should resign from last week. Yeah. Like, you can't do that. Like, no. And Reece rightfully put that like photoshopped picture of him outside the City ground, like behind bars with a padlock on it. I just thought that was very funny.
Very funny.
And then the fact that like then Carragher, you got Beckham on Instagram kind of chiming in and backing him up. I go, football friends, like, give over yourself, just because the problem is he's got such a big platform and such a big voice in football. People are going to follow and listen to what he has to say. His word carries a lot of power and a lot of like weight. So you have to be careful of what you say. Like, and he even contradicted himself last season, saying, "I would never ask someone to like be sacked or resign or blah blah blah." And then he went and did it twice within the space of 18 months or so.
That was after the captain thing. We obviously were the whole team, because obviously Sky deleted all the clips, didn't they? And they realised Forest were really angry about it. They deleted all the clips and said, "Oh, it never happened." We've all got video footage of Neville saying that he should be resigning. Like, honestly, the bloke's a clown, an absolute circus clown. Yeah, I don't care. I think you'd have loved it in the NAV before, mate, to be fair, because it was the biggest quiz we've done. I think it was like 350 people there doing it. I'd say about half of them had Neville slurs as their names, and every single time one of them, there was at least one guaranteed in the top 10 every single time. Commiserations to Reece, by the way, who came second in that quiz.
Did he have a Neville slur?
He did not have a Neville slur. No, I think he was
boring.
No, yeah, a really peculiar ex. I can't remember who that was. Ex-bloke. I had Carriel, Adam Webster, Jordan Smith. I can't remember who Reece had now. But,
I do love like an old name as the his name at the nav.
Yeah.
Like, like Dan Harden or something like that.
Yeah, literally. But literally every single time a Neville thing came on the screen, Gary Neville, what up? That was the whole place was chanting it. It came 10 times. It never got boring. So if anything, Neville being spared from all of that is probably a favour in some regards for Marinakis, because it wouldn't have been pleasant for him. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's that too much more to say about this pod. I mean, do you fear that was Morgan Gibbs-White's last game as well? Did it seem like that on the pitch at the time, or was it a little bit inconclusive?
I'm never bought into this belief that Gibbs-White's sort of pulling his punches and whatever else he's on the move away. I don't buy that at all. I saw someone try and say earlier that, look at his performance in games that we've lost. I think he's only got 1 assist in those games. I mean, if anything, that tells you how important he is to the side, because that means if he's not at it, we're not at it. Which ties into the logic that he could be up for player of the season, whatever else. It's never really got going for him. It wasn't just him; it was anyone. They didn't go for anyone yesterday, really, apart from Sangare and Williams. And even then, Williams was responsible for the goal. So no one really put a shift in, you could argue, or played well. It's not. So it's difficult to sort of say, he's got half an arm moving to City and moving with his best mate Foden and whatever else. I don't think that's true. I think he's been professional to the end. If that is his last game for us, which I strongly suspect it will be, it's gutting that he's gone out in that fashion, because he deserves so much more. I mean, if that is his last game, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch him play football. He's been the best player I've seen, especially in the attacking front. He's such a creative powerhouse in midfield. He's only going to get better and better and better. And we saw it at West Ham last week, for example, how good he was then. So losing a player of that calibre is going to be a real, real blow if that is the case. But we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what City do. Obviously, City have got a window from the 1st to the 10th of June, haven't they, for the Club World Cup? So we'll have to see what happens in that front, because we could know very sooner rather than later if it was his last game or not.
Does he go with your blessing almost as well then?
Yeah, I mean, of course he does.
I think you do, yeah.
Yeah, had we got Champions League again, you can maybe argue otherwise, but we didn't. And when you don't get those, when you don't sit at those top tables, you run the risk of being raided, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's not just us either. Look at Bournemouth. Howson's gone to Real Madrid. Kirkes is probably going to go to Liverpool, and we're not even in June yet.
Yeah. So you look at Brentford, Palace, Wolves. They're all going to get raided,
going to go this season. Palace might be okay to a point, but even then, Eze's got a £60 million release clause. I wouldn't be surprised if someone activated that. Potentially even City over Gibbs-White. Who knows? But
yeah.
You've got all these things going on, and unless you are at the top, and it'd be the same for teams at the bottom end as well. I mean, United selling Garnacho, for example, would they have wanted to sell Garnacho in a normal season? Absolutely not. They're going to have to now because they finished 15th. They're an embarrassment. So, and he's not going to want to stay there. So, it isn't just us. That's just a cycle of the game. Unfortunately, for clubs of our size, without those revenue packages that come in, this is always going to be a realistic possibility. And I think if you do follow that Brighton model and Leicester beforehand, you generally allow for one big sale a season. So
yeah, I think even Villa are a bit of a risk, aren't they? I think they're in big PSR trouble, aren't they? Because their wage. Trouble. Did you say their wages were like? You said it was like 90%. I remember you mentioning 90%. Like, I can't remember what it was.
It's like 96% of the revenue, I think, is wages. It's a huge amount, and obviously with no Champions League to back that up now, it's about yeah. So we're gonna have to see what happens on that front. I just hope if we do sell, I just hope it's just Gibbs White, because it could be a long summer in a sense. Newcastle could come back in for Alanga, for example. They've got Champions League football to offer him. Murillo could go to a Champions League club as well, because teams will look at him now and think, yeah, you know what, he is a real deal, like we all know he is. I just hope the club put their foot down and say, no, we're selling one-on-one only.
Yeah.
And they're tied to contracts, and that's how it will stay. So
yeah. I think like also in the summer we've kind of got to sort out whether like Aina's staying for a longer term, Hudson-Odoi staying for a longer term. Yeah. I think Nico Williams is probably quite prime to stay, because I think he's had a really good season this year. I think he's turned a lot of people's opinions around. I think including yourself on that front. Yeah. And yeah, then it's just now then about adding bits and pieces here. I know that there's still probably going to be a big turnover. We've got a lot of players out on loan and stuff. We've got young players that probably need more experience in better leagues as well. So it's going to be fun, man. Like it always is. It's never boring at Forest. There's always going to be ins and outs. There's always going to be crazy rumours. What position are you really looking forward to as like trying to nail down? Is it striker, or is it somewhere else completely different for you?
I think, yeah. I mean, obviously the Telegraph report Percy put out said that he wants, what was it? It was 2 wingers, 2 strikers, and a left back. And I think that's probably about right to start with. Striker is the big one in it, really, because I mean, you think that Taiwo would be moved on. I think that was going to happen before his injury, regardless. Unfortunately, he needs a fresh start somewhere where he could be the main man and sort of, not have dribs 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, sort of thing. You can't really get up a run of form like that or anything. You can he looked leaner at times. He looks unfit at others, and that's going to happen when you don't get game time consistently. So I think he needs a new start somewhere else. And to be fair, whoever gets him, we get a good player. Somebody scored 10 plus goals in the Bundesliga and the Premier League in one league seat, one calendar year as well. So I think we still get about 15 million for him if we were to sell him personally.
That'd be like our money back, wouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to say, really good signing, all in. It's a shame he couldn't stay fit for long periods of time. That's not really entirely his fault. He'll probably go. I mean, you think, will Danilo go? I know the bloke at the Daily Mail seems to think he's going to go back to Brazil. Again, I personally like to give, now in the Conference League, I'd like to see him give him a bit more time, especially if we do go to that 3 in midfield where we are going to need other midfielders around. You probably need 6 in at that point rather than 5. So you're probably looking to bring another one in. It's going to be interesting how it all happens. Obviously, I'm intrigued by the wide options actually more than anything else. So I back us to get a striker in or 2, but the wide options we get to sort of supplement Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, I think that's going to be where things are won or lost, because there've been so many times this season where you just get a winger on, and we haven't done it for other purposes. Having those options would really help us, I think.
Yeah, no, we've been linked with Assane Diao, who went to Como in the summer. One was linked with him from Real Betis before. Then we've been linked with Monaco's. I'm going to probably butcher this last name, but it's like Magnus Alcalucci.
PSG like that as well, don't they? Yeah, so that could be quite interesting.
Well, that's a bloody bummer, isn't it? PSG don't need him. They've got about 1 million wingers as it is. Why do they need him? This is like, it is literally real life FM where they just stockpile. Chelsea do the same.
Like, no,
because Chelsea have got so many players. Like, I mean, if we were to move to a 4-3-3, Andre Santos could be an absolute dream, because he's been so good for Strasbourg the last couple of seasons out on loan, and we completely wasted him when he was on loan with us. Probably that would not make him want to come here, but he'd be ideal in a 4-3-3 because of his box-to-box ability. equally, someone like an Angelo, who we was interested in, never got a sniff at Chelsea. I feel like Chelsea are that team where they are capable of letting through another Salah or Kevin De Bruyne through their
100%,
net.
100%, yeah.
Because they've got like people like if they got Esteval coming, aren't they, from Palmeiras and a couple of players like that, and it's like Kendry Paz. So they will let one through. It's just inevitable. So I feel like that's somewhere where we could potentially pick up a cheaper option, but we will see, and we'll get to it. But if there's nothing, is there anything else that you want to add, Christian, to the pod before we leave?
Right. Obviously, we've got our charity game soon. I'm sure more details about that will be coming out. If people want to come down and watch,
we've still got one.
We've still got one
place. We've still got one place. It's 8th of June at Ilkeston, 3 p.m. kickoff. People are more than welcome to come. It's £5 for adults, £1 for kids. All the money will be going to charity, which we will announce in due course of which one we're doing. It's normally been mine, but we are changing it this year with something personal for myself. So yeah, but we've got that. We're going to do end of season awards. Wednesday. We've got a quiz coming. We've got some other bits and bobs coming through the summer, and then I think during the summer as well. Anyway, there will be plenty of Forest to talk about, regardless. Anyway, so no, we thank you very much for all the support for this season, on especially on the reviews and the previews and everything. It means a lot. If whoever's watching, there's 34 people at the moment. If they can all drop a like and a subscribe if you've not already, then that'd be grand. That would go towards a lot for the future. So thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you all Wednesday for the end of season awards. And we've got European football, guys, next season. We've got that to look forward to. We'll be excited for it when it comes round. Don't you worry, it won't be so doom and gloom like all right, we have been on this pod today. But we thank you. Come on, you Reds.